My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. That's a demon monitoring as I handle my phone. Stalking in the adjacent stall. .35 p.m. It is 4:37 p.m. The reason why the recording is initiated, the entity is engaged in surrounding conduct surveillance conduct pertaining to my vagina, which Marcelo Blanco is keeping under surveillance. Doing so with the people of the state at the venue. Oh, are you done?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Hi, would you mind letting... Huh? Oh, okay. Would you mind letting me back into the room, please?
Sure.
The entity, the one that's stating that he's jibber-jabbering, he's doing so in impossible light activity. The video that is captured this morning with this entity that's inside of the library under the fake sun at 10 a.m. is under the same fake sun at 4:30. It's 4:38 p.m. And they're engaging in what is harassment. This is what the sex offenders that are conspiring murder engage in as they keep the evidence of them conspiring your murder, gang stalking you on behalf of terrorists like Marcelo Blanco. They do so while they engage in what is monitoring the evidence which is relevant to the unlawful threat posed by domestic terrorists like Marcelo Blanco and the Upland Police Department, while the people of the state that are engaging in that criminal pattern of conduct then engage in what is retaliatory. In their sick minds, they think it's retaliation. They're going to prison for these things. But the entity's engaged in harassment. So loud, boom, 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 boom. Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you. While the entity is maintaining ongoing, amplified, disruptive, harassing, terrorizing audible activity with the specific purpose of doing so while my vagina is exposed. This is how demons are monitoring you. Monitoring your vagina is relevant to keeping literally that part of your body under surveillance as you move it, as you operate it, as you use it, as you have to necessarily touch it, as you are disposing of yourself. The entity is surrounding you and molesting you with impossible light. The entity is stalking you, that is following you, mirroring your physical movements with amplified audible noise, which is also disconcerting, and it's also psychologically torturous. While it is centered around what the target individual understands is their genitalia, the entity is doing this while they are also hostile criminal monitors that are keeping the evidence of you, exposing them, reporting, and documenting them under surveillance. And so I want to document the serial stalker, this aged Caucasian female. The city of Upland engages in, this is entirely demonic, but the city of Upland, the entity itself that are demon possessed, the state that is engaged in federal group stalking monitoring. For example, if I document San Diego company while I'm in Ontario, California, the entity engages in the pattern of having an employee from San Diego company, which would be readily identifiable. You'll see an employee vehicle that says San Diego company on it. You'll see insignia that will reference San Diego company on it. The entity will engage in what is monitoring online with ads referencing San Diego company in it. The entity will engage in what is crossing path on the roads and highways where you are at with San Diego company on it. And so just to give you an example of the entity that keeps you under surveillance and engages in methods of harassing you, monitoring you, doing so, the entire city of San Diego cannot come to the city of Ontario. However, the entity is engaged in what is monitoring, and pursuant to that, these territorial demons engage in what is monitoring you in the area where you remain. So, for example, the entity is engaging what is monitoring through the sex offender that enters on behalf of the entire entity into the private space with full knowledge that they are being prosecuted, that they are being documented, exposed as violent sex offenders. The government is invading your privacy while the entity enters into the bathroom. That's the government. There is no existing legitimate interest for the government to engage in surveillance in bathrooms. That is literally what sex offenders do, where sex offenders are maintaining surveillance, where psychopaths who are violent sex offenders are stalking, okay, and are stalking also in absurd and unheard of methods, such as monitoring. Okay, the entity is engaging in this while the people of the state enter the restroom, and they do so with full knowledge of the documentation. Not only do they continuously engage in that sex offense, I just want to be clear, the government, the entity, the people of the state have no constitutional rights to enter into the private space to relieve themselves, which is exactly what they're going to state, as though it's constitutionally or legally relevant. It is not. They are the people. They are monitoring in furtherance of murder. They are engaging in surveillance by entering into that private space. They do so with regard to a seamless CEASELESS system, which is why a fake sun is still over the same library after 4:35 p.m. with the intent to harass and terrorize you, not anticipating documentation, and now they're doing it before the feds and the world. There are plenty that are going to be subject to federal prison merely for the sex offense, the humiliating charge vagina monitoring, as I've termed it, but it's federal group stalking and monitoring in the private spaces, the corporate invasion of privacy by the government that it is engaging in everywhere you're at, including when you're at home, including when you're at your friend's house, including when you are kidnapped by the entity. They will still be prosecuted for violating your privacy when they're engaged in kidnapping. They're monitoring your genitalia while you're inside of a facility where they keep engineer lighting, they keep the fakes in over that facility. They're pacing in as demons wearing uniforms representing law enforcement, and they're keeping your genitalia under surveillance. They will be prosecuted the same. All right, the entities engaging in this P.O.C., however, with the serial stalker that I've heavily documented at Ovid Family Community Library. She's an aged female engaged in harassment me at Upland Public Library. And then I've gone to many libraries and documented the government. So as I go to Ovid Family Community Library, this venue, Upland Public Library, hostile when I reference it at Ovid, we'll go to the Ovid Family Community Library where she is routinely at the Upland Public Library, okay? So this is analogous to the example that I'm giving you. But I believe that she's a transient, so not necessarily quote unquote from anywhere. I don't know this demon, this stalker's details, but encountering her gang stalking me serially at Upland as I go to Ovid Family Community Library, and as I document Upland Public Library at Ovid, this demon in particular is like a territorial demon that would come to Ovid and engage in the pattern of conduct, and she likes to engage in monitoring my vagina as the entity in the bathroom. All right, this is one, again, the entity does this with regard to harassment. They will utilize a demon representing that territory that has harassed you in one way or another, where you have some sort of bad experience with them, and the entity is engaging in this. This is all state action, and they're going to be prosecuted for what is psychological torture, harassment, threats, and terrorism as an entity that is also keeping the evidence to prosecute it under surveillance, which the government has no authority to do whatsoever. Interfering with the federal case, it is obstruction. Okay, so I want to make sure that that is documented. The entity ceases that ongoing earthquake, booming, disconcerting activity in the bathroom as I press record. Okay, and as I'm in the bathroom, as you can hear, there is nothing that's going to create that sort of activity. This is what the demons have been doing all day long, especially as I document. If you look at the video documentation regarding the prosecution of the people of the state, for March 27, 2026. The mentally ill behave as animals. They do not speak and communicate with words. They are monitoring demons who engage in also communicating harassment, and communicating hostility and aggression, which is also legally relevant. That's also how you're legally analyzing it. A demon that's engaging what is molesting you with supernatural means in furtherance of surveillance to murder you is also in that manner, doing so while they intend to threaten you and harass you and exhibit hostility and aggression. It is very hostile and aggressive conduct to engage in that criminal activity, which is satanic and psychopathic. While you are monitoring evidence that you are hostile to. That's exactly how you're analyzing that. And under the law, just like any other stalker, the stalker starts cussing you out as you start documenting them. These are demon-possessed, mentally ill people who are engaging in what is supposed to be a passive-aggressive, microaggressive conduct where they're acting like nothing's happening. Everything's in the mind of the target individual. They're imagining everything. And no one's imagining the fake sun that's still over the same library where these vagina monitors entered at 10 o'clock with infant children, okay, as employees and as those that are coming into sharing nothing other than surveillance. Nobody's imagining that. So sharing all of the failed psychological torture tactics by very highly unintelligent people, all they're doing is engaging in what is gang violence. And you're going to prosecute every iteration of it. And it's gang violence that's not child play. It's in furtherance of murder and psychological torture against an American citizen that is doing so through gang stalkers of the Upland Police Department. Okay, they're doing so and speaking as the state that arrives at the drop of a dime in a helicopter, kidnapping you, defaming you, harassing you, exercising authority they don't have under the law regarding the doctrines of reasonable suspicion and probable cause based on made-up information, literally, that somebody told them X, Y, and Z. That's how that system operates. It's very threatening, and the entities engage in that while they are stalking you in a bathroom stall. So the entities engaging in that ongoing amplified audible activity and doing so through the highly documented serial stalker. She is always wearing the same gray pants, black cap, carries a lot of plastic bags, and she's engaged in what is historically harassing me at the Upland Public Library, and she is representing the entity from the city of Upland when she is gang stalking at the Ovid Family Community Library. This is on the record already. She's documented when I'm at Ovid as a serial stalker, which is the basis of federal prison. I've already documented that this is who's stalking in the bathroom. And the entity is doing so as hostile sex offenders and filling the bathroom with ongoing booming and amplified noise while they are monitoring me while my panties are down, my vagina is exposed, and they're engaging in that sexual violence with this serial stalker. Also relevant regarding the evidence that I published about these sex offenders that are monitoring on behalf of MARCELO, BLANCO, and the Upland Police Department. Okay, it is currently 4:47 p.m. This is P.O.C. You heard me refer to everyone in the way that I do for a specific purpose. Alyssa is at least posing as an employee at the venue. This is the entity that's, again, they're criminals. I've documented Starbucks. I'll walk in, I'll document the people of the state. They'll have a group of employees, and an hour later, after I start documenting, they'll have a different group of employees who may or may not even actually work there. I'm just speaking to the fact that these are criminals. They're engaged in highly fraudulent and corrupt conduct. So you do not assume, you just document based on who systematically, because you're getting down to the substance of the matter. I don't care if you call yourself a volunteer or you call yourself coming in and just assuming the role, and they didn't even hire you, and they didn't even know that you're volunteering in the library and that you're taking on a role at whatever you want to call it. You're going to be federally prosecuted, period. You're encountering the gang stalker over and over and over again. That's systematic, repetitious, ongoing targeting and furtherance of murder with terrorist leaders that use helicopters and police vehicles to get away with under the law and appear as though they're engaged in the execution of duties of officers when actually they're conspiring your murder. You're going to prison for that. All right? In the same way that they're going to prison, gang stalking police officers, which is an un-American oxymoron, which is met with prison for any other terrorist. Okay? Just like foreign terrorists, they're going to federal prison. You like to systematically and repeatedly engage in that based on the evidence, not based on what any asinine, illogical, legally irrelevant comments that you'll make in a tribunal. You like to, and that's what you were documented doing, and you're going to prison for it. The entity's engaged in this, and they're doing so while they are keeping the evidence under surveillance. I just want to be clear, this is Bill Velto that's keeping my vagina under surveillance and harassing me through the vagina monitors of the Upland Public Library of the people of the state, because of hostility toward your keeping my genitalia under surveillance. It's not the other way around. These are mentally ill predators. This is why you have a fake son. They are all mentally ill. This is requiring what is martial law. Every employee, including Joy, this is Alyssa, as I referred to her. This is the name badge. Remember, I use the information that I'm provided. The entity is going to be providing, literally handing over reporting. They will be producing the information regarding exactly every detail. I mean, when you arrived, when you opened the heliport, who was there, what you signed, where you flew, what was it that you were claiming you were doing when you were using the helicopter. They're going to produce all of this information. I'm maintaining my own public investigation regarding the government that is stalking me in places as absurd as the bathroom. Okay? And then they're engaging in this pattern of conduct inside of a building. And this is letting you know the significance of what I'm documenting outside on a moment by moment basis. It is not pausing. That's also illogical and unreasonable to contend. They're stalking in a building, and they're stalking in a building under a fake sun that remains there all day long, and they're stalking in the bathroom in that building, in both bathrooms, like the grown-up males that like to take little girls into the male restroom to engage in vagina monitoring. Okay, like the demons that dress up as nurses. That's just the people of the state in some sort of quote unquote professional capacity coming to participate in the sex offense of vagina monitoring in scrubs, pacing around as psychopaths, which is what they are. They are actually mentally ill, and they fill the medical profession, and I am prosecuting them. All right, this is P.O.C. It's currently 4:51 at Upland Public Library. Joy is here, pacing. She's mentally ill. Her mental illness is no longer closeted. So she's engaged in what is hostility. She's hostile toward me. She is a homosexual predator of a violent nature. So she's engaged in vagina monitoring. That she's a female. That is in and of itself, that's innately homosexual. She's not merely a homosexual. She is a predator. She's a sex offender that is sexually interested in another woman who is not consenting to that attention. And then she's engaging in further sexual violence and further into murdering me with the police because I'm reporting the fact that she's a sex offender, okay? And that's what you're deducing from the facts of an employee at the venue under the fake sun in the engineered light, stalking as an entity in the bathroom on behalf of the city police. It is currently 4:52 p.m. This is P.O.C. All right, I want to document right here. You're going to pay attention to the pattern. The moment that I catch them stalking, because they're feigning some takeoff, there's no takeoff, they're stalking. okay? The entity is engaging what is flying over the 10 freeway when I'm in Upland, coming to Ontario. I want to document this because this is where the Ontario Police Department are stalking by helicopter as well. And then the people of the state, the terrorists that are going to be federally prosecuted for vagina monitoring, they like to come up and approach you and ask you stupid questions that they know the answer to when they're stalking and harassing you with the Ontario Police Department and with the Ontario International Airport that's doing cartwheels over another senior center, okay, where they're disrupting what's supposed to be the quaint and tranquil area, violating the zoning provisions, walking while the fake moon's over the top of my head. This is where the Ontario police are stalking by helicopter, just like you heard on my podcast last night, where the entities engage in that while I'm uploading evidence, and the demons that are monitoring my vagina presuppose that I'm going to be afraid of them when they have to climb into helicopters in order to beg me for attention. And it's also attention that's putting Mike LORENZ in prison. All right? These are psychopaths. This is where the police are stalking. And this is where the Ontario International Airport's engaging what is cowardly conduct. They maintain a line of planes, however, from the Ontario International Airport. They fly miles over here, and then they hover over the senior center and a senior citizen complex. But I want to be clear, the Ontario Police Department is gang stalking with the people of the state. All right? Those are minor children that are vagina monitoring as well. They're engaging in the P.O.C. with the government. The government that includes the people of the state that are engaging in that criminal conduct with minor children, like taking little girls into the male restroom. That's what's gang stalking, okay? This is the entity that's engaging in that. I'm at the Ovid Family Community Library, and you know that the government is stalking me because it brings its fake sun and fake moon over me. That's the mentally ill. That's what's indicating here. They're mentally ill while they are stalking in planes, and they're caught red-handed. And what do the mentally ill do? They do more of it. Therefore, a federal prosecution shall include what are mental examinations, being diagnosed to be committed for the safety of national security, and federal prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 7:51 p.m. This is the entity flying over me, right where the fake moon is at as well. Flying right over my head, just like I stated, just like they were last night, while they were monitoring what I'm publishing on the internet, just like I've been documenting for years under the 6 p.m. fake sun that's still at the same entrance that it is at 10 o'clock in the morning where C. Gerber is stalking. This is the entity. I just want to be clear. Mike LORENZ is going to federal prison. This is criminal stalking in an absurdly psychotic method, which I have thousands of video evidence proving, while they're also keeping my evidence that I capture of them stalking with the people of the state. This is a demon in Engineer Light. They're doing so with the police department, which is also why Mike LORENZ is going to prison. This is an entity that is mentally ill. This is the fake moon that's over my head, where the entity is engaging in stalking by helicopter, and they are providing evidence to the rest of the world that in the United States, the entities engaged in what are terrorizing American citizens, murdering American citizens, framing them for crimes that they did not commit, while the actual criminals disguise themselves and call themselves law enforcement agencies. Unfortunately, this is the exposed hypocrisy regarding domestic terrorists, and they are sharing that with the so-called people of the state. Within the P.O.C., the people of the state are being federally prosecuted for being terrorists as well. All right, this is the pattern of conduct. I just want to show you, here's my shadow that's in front of me, 2 of them. All right, and here's another shadow over here while you're looking at the light activity while the people of the state are pacing. All right, they're monitoring together. The Ontario Police Department are stalking where the airport is stalking. This is psychopathic pacing with the people of the state on the roads and the highways and their vehicles. And this is what they're doing right here at the walkway. So they're on foot, they're on their skateboards, they're on their roller skates, they're walking their dogs, they're stalking, they're monitoring together. The entity is doing this in Upland, California, under the fake sun that you saw remaining over that Upland Public Library. This is the same exact pattern of conduct. This is the disbanding of gang stalkers that committed kidnapping, which is what this agency committed. And you're looking at what they committed it with regard to what is closeted mental illness, and it's no longer closeted. They are targeting me while they're flying over the top of my head. They are aware of the fact that I'm documenting that they're stalking and harassing, and they continuously engage in more of it. They're doing it under the unmistakable specific environment, okay? They're doing so with the entity. This is the impunity. They're going to prison. This isn't even a takeoff. What are they doing at Hawthorne? They're flying miles over, and then they're doing the exact same thing over the neighborhoods where the fake moon is over me in those neighborhoods. This is the pattern of conduct, and that's the federal prosecution of Mike LORENZ. Mike LORENZ is a vagina monitor. He's a chief of vagina monitors, and so is Alan D. WAPNER. They're engaged in this pattern of conduct together in furtherance of murder. These are cold-blooded, violent sex offenders that engaged in this to steal my wealth, and do so as a corrupt gang stalking terrorist agency, not a law enforcement agency. This is a system where the entities that terrorizing American citizens in order to steal from them. And then these baboons thought that gang stalking me, which they would rather be prosecuted and shown for, rather than you understanding that it's even deeper than this. They did this after they have stolen my money and my identity, claiming that I'm dead, taking the people of the state that are gang stalking, engaging in criminal activity and blaming me for it, taking insurance policies out on me and I don't even know them, while they're molesting me with impossible light, stalking me under the fake sun and the fake moon, monitoring with the entity that's flying over my head and flying in circles over me by helicopter on a daily and nightly basis. This is the mentally ill. They're demons. Stalking in the path with light. That's what the demon possessed do. They also do things that are absurdly psychotic, such as stalking in planes and in helicopters. This is P.O.C. The entities engaging in this pattern of conduct with regard to monitoring evidence. This is the evidence that is putting Mike LORENZ. This is a middle-aged white man is going to prison. He's going to prison with no final paycheck. His family is not receiving any compensation regarding what is his engaging in terrorism and trying to cloak himself as a law enforcement officer, a chief of police. There is no immunity for any of these terrorists that I have shown with regard to the pattern of conduct. This is informing the way in which they're going to be prosecuted as terrorists in the U.S. And that is directly shown while the entity is stalking me by helicopter, just like I'm documenting on a daily basis. They're stalking me at Hawthorne and Euclid Avenue, way up by whereas I'm walking into Upland. Mike LORENZ is specifically targeting me, and since he is, I'm going to prosecute him, and that's what you're witnessing on the internet. Mike LORENZ is a demon-possessed. He's a demon-possessed psychopath. He's a demon, and he's going to federal prison. And so is every other kidnapper that is stalking me, like Hadel Shiapati, stalking me at 7 in the morning when I'm showing you that fake sun is still there at 2 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And when I go back in the evening after 5 p.m., that fake sun is over me at that same parking lot. She's going to prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 8:26 p.m. Here you go. This is the entity. Remember, this fake moon is speaking to what is unmistakable targeting by demons at that. So Mike LORENZ is not only engaged in criminal activities such as stalking, which is a crime. It's a whole other level of a crime when it's an agency that's using helicopters. It is indeed domestic terrorism, and the entity does so with regard to what I publish on the internet, which informs psychopaths such as Mike LORENZ, who is a killer, he is a stalker, and he is a psychotic one. This is exactly what I publish on X. And as it's published on X onto Facebook, this entity is repeating that ongoing terrorism. And this is the ongoing terrorism that I could not manufacture, could not make it up. And I also wouldn't have 9,000 videos corroborating that. And it's a shared pattern of conduct by other departments such as LAPD. All right, this is the pattern of conduct where the entity is engaging in this conduct under the fake moon, where I'm showing you in this environment, the entity is stalking under a fake sun. This is the pattern of conduct shared by LAPD. Mike LORENZ is being federally prosecuted. He's being federally prosecuted because of his appetite for murder, because of his appetite regarding my vagina, which he has no authority under the law to keep under surveillance. And it is absurdly unheard of to engage in doing so, as you see this department does with helicopters, okay? That is speaking to severe mental instability. Gang stalkers are mentally ill. They will be treated as such under the law. They share that with the people of the state with whom they engage in what is criminal summoning. These are not traffic stops. It's unlawful criminal activity, which the entity is doing with police uniforms, utilizing police vehicles and helicopters. The entity is engaging in this with regard to a pattern of conduct that is unmistakable. As I move, the fake moon moves. This is not the natural environment, and this is the unmistakable pattern by the mentally ill who are stalking all around, monitoring with methods of light activity. This is the mentally ill that are over and above with a gang stalking police department that's going to be disbanded. This is the entity that is definitely stalking me. I move away from that building, so does the fake moon. The entity is the demon-possessed agency. Mike LORENZ being federally prosecuted as a terrorist leader, facilitating this violence amongst the people of the state that are keeping my genitalia under surveillance and then excluding me from state venues like the city of Ontario when they're hostile because they are indeed violent sex offenders who are being documented. And they're being documented in ways in which they're making up fables regarding what is their admitted guilt. When you're lying on me, it's because you are guilty. That's exactly what the evidence shows. And they're going to prison for that. People like Sean Thrasher, while I'm at the Ovid Family Community Library, where they're engaged in what is excluding me based on manufactured information. And I just so happen to be gang stalked by the entity flying over my head over and over again. Sean Thrasher's going to prison. Okay, so is C. Gerber, the one that gave me the letter. admitting to federal group stalking and monitoring, where these ignoramuses are providing ongoing evidence, serving for what is a laundry list of people that are going to prison with that agency. They're all going to prison, every single last one of them, stalking and employed by the Ontario Police Department. This is P.O.C. It is currently 8:50 p.m.